Now it's time for the highlight of our event, today's keynote address. The topic, Success versus Legacy, invites us to look beyond the typical definitions of achievement and reflect on impact, meaning, and long term purpose.
Please welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Gokul Madhavan. Dr. Madhavan is the Chief Strategy Officer at BNC Motors, a fast growing Indian electric two wheeler manufacturer company, where he drives strategy, market expansion, and innovation. His career spans entrepreneurship and corporate strategy, including co founding Vote Trends and contributing in technology and product strategy roles.
He holds an MBA from Yale School of Management, a PhD in South Asian languages and Indian philosophy from Harvard, and an AB in mathematics and Russian from Harvard University. With his rare blend of academic depth and business expertise, he is shaping the future of sustainable mobility while driving BNC Motors' growth in the competitive EV sector. Let's warmly welcome Dr. Madhavan to deliver his keynote.
Thank you all for having me here. Thank you for a very kind introduction that spoke to some of the things that may look like successes on the outside. Thank you for not talking about some of my not so successful moments. I'm sure it'll come up as we have our conversation. It is a deep honor and a privilege for me to be here in front of all of you. I'm deeply grateful to the leadership of GSIS for inviting us here, to Harvard Club of Bangalore for asking me to join all of you here, and most of all, for being here with all of you, the youth of India, the youth of the future. Our nation celebrated our 79th birthday yesterday, and given how technology is improving, how healthcare is improving, it is not inconceivable that there are several of you here who will see our nation's, let's see, double 79, 158th birthday, 79 years to come. You, the people here, have the power to shape our country's future over the years to come, to lead our country's future, and with power and responsibility, I think it makes sense to talk a little bit about success. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about what success means, what legacy means. You're all incredibly accomplished already just by being here, and this is a good opportunity for us to reflect a little more deeply on what this could mean for you and how you shape your own path, your own destiny. I'm going to talk about three key ideas and three key frameworks that might help you, give you some language to discuss what success means. The frameworks are things that I've pulled together from different Indian philosophies, different parts of the world as well. So we're going to see, a lot of different foreign language words being thrown around today. Think of this as an opportunity to broaden your horizons and as a way to learn from all the best that all of the world has to offer us. The world as it exists today, as well as the world of the past. We use all of that to move into the future. But before I get into those three key ideas, I want to start with a foundational idea, an aperitif or maybe a glass of jaljeera before you have the main course. And this is the idea that only you get to decide what success means for you. Only you get to decide what success means for you. Now, in saying this, I'm not contradicting the lovely school prayer that we just recited. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents, don't listen to your teachers. Listen to them. Draw wisdom from all directions. Bring all of those pieces in. What I'm saying here is closer to what Meghna said earlier about the elephant and the rider. If you follow someone else's path, and even if you achieve all the outer marks of success, you will miss that inner satisfaction that gives you a sense of comfort, that helps you tell yourself, I think I've done something good in life. So this is really not a prescriptive idea, it's more a descriptive one. It's one that says you need to come to a deeper realization for yourself about what success means for you. Okay? With that idea in mind, which by the way is permission for you to not listen to me, in case you already have a clear idea of what success means for you, let's go ahead, let's dive deeper. And so we'll start with the first one. And the first idea is, look, we all have a vague sense of what success means, right? At some level, it comes down to fulfilling your goals, achieving your dreams, blah, blah, blah. But let's get more nuanced. I want to draw a distinction between what I'm going to call success as achievement versus success as an unfolding process. Okay? Success as achievement versus success as an unfolding process. What does this mean? Success as achievement, right? These are things that are familiar to you, right? You are school rank number 1. You become school captain. You score an IPL century at age 14. How many of you here are inspired by young Webhoff? It's a pretty cool thing to do. He's 14 years old and he scored a century in the IPL. Right? That's a great achievement. Make money on the stock market. You have a successful trade. You make a bunch of money. Well, maybe the kids here who are younger than 18 might not be able to do that yet, but there's satisfaction in doing that. Organizing a conference. Right? When you get rid of all of us tomorrow and you sit back in your chairs and breathe a deep sigh of relief, success as achievement. All of these things feel good. But you also have, on the right-hand side, what I'm calling success as unfolding process. This is not about being school rank number 1. This is about enjoying the process of learning. Not just in your classes, but over the course of your entire life. Being in great form as a batsman, right? Shubman Gill failed a couple of times in this last test series, but he was in the form of his life. That is success as an unfolding process. Every time he goes out there, you know he's going to do well. Warren Buffett, right? It's not about one successful stock market trade. It's about a lifetime of learning to trade well, of understanding how the market works. That is success as an unfolding process. And of course, it's not just about these 2 days of this conference. It's about the several months of work that all of these amazing student volunteers have put together. All of their learnings in this process. That is what success as an unfolding process feels like. Which of these do you think gives you more satisfaction in the long term? If you think it's success as achievement, okay, I'm standing this way, raise your right hand. If you think it's success as achievement, that gives you more satisfaction. No right or wrong answer, just raise your hand if you think that's better. Okay? What about those who think success as unfolding process matters more in the long term? A lot of lefties here, interesting, okay. Of course, I'm kind of, I have my thumbs on the scale here, so of course I'm expecting you to say that. Look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with success as achievement, okay? Those are good things. Successes as achievements can be powerful motivators. They can inspire you to want to do things. They can inspire you to work harder. They can inspire you to do things that you thought were not possible for yourself. So I'm not downplaying success as achievement. I'm asking you to put it into perspective. Right? Don't let your identity or your self-worth be determined by these external factors. If you're 15 and you haven't yet scored a century in the IPL, that does not mean you're a failure in life. Right? I'm obviously picking a ludicrous example, but the point stands. Don't let these external markers of success define your identity. I thought about a cool way to say this. Well, I'm a language nerd, so I think these things are cool. Maybe you think differently. But I thought I'd say, don't make your milestones your millstones. Don't let them hold you back, okay? Okay, so we've talked about success in these two different ways. And oops, that is fun. That was that a success? I don't know, you tell me. Well, you got a glimpse of the rest of my slides, so in case we don't finish the presentation, you already know everything I'm going to say. Good. So, this is the framework that I'm going to talk about that'll help you try to plan these things out. Think of this as a very concrete framework for planning your actions step by step. This, by the way, is based on something that Indian philosophers talked about for a couple of thousand years. So I've pulled in some words and I've pulled in some ideas that help them do this. The core idea, the first thing I want to say here is this word, sadhya, right, in this framework. The sadhya is what you want to realize. It's what you want to make real. That's your goal, right? And that can be anything. That could be a particular, maybe it's a particular time you have on the 400-meter race. It could be a score you have on your exam. It could be maybe wanting to get into Harvard, whatever it is, right? It's a concrete goal that you have. That's the sadhya. We start with that. And then I'm going to jump all the way to the other side, which is the sadhanams. Right? The sadhanams are your resources. What resources do you have? What physical tools? What mental tools? What knowledge? What networks? What friends? What resources do you have that can help you get to your sadhya? What resources do you have that can help you realize your goal? But remember, it's not enough to just have these things. You're not successful because your parents are rich. You're successful because, given the resources you have, you then put in the sustained effort, the sadhana, that converts those resources into your goal. Now, you might have heard this word sadhana used more often these days. It's used in a spiritual sense. It's almost used like a spiritual practice. People might call their prayer or their meditation practice a sadhana. And all of those words are connected to this. But the concrete meaning of sadhana is to put in that effort, to sweat, so that you're trying to work with what you have to make one of your dreams come true. And the last element is that little apple down in the corner. It's the phala. Because guess what? At the end of the day, no matter how much effort you put in, you're not guaranteed success. You might do all the right things. You might have all the resources. You might put in all the hard work. And yet something doesn't click somewhere. The roll of the dice, whatever you want to call it. But you get something out of that process. That something is the phala. So your sadhya and your phala are different things. Okay? So this is the first framework I want you to think about. This is useful whenever you have any kind of concrete objective you want to work towards. It's a pretty useful framework for that. Next idea. I'm going to keep it crisp because I've been told I have 20 minutes and they'll turn my mics off and they might brush me off stage if I'm not done. So I'm going to be quick. Second idea, and I think this is a really important one. There's a distinction between being or becoming someone and doing something. Being or becoming someone versus doing something. This is where I had my meme slide up. Every deck should have at least one meme slide, right? So this is from the movie Three Idiots, very famous scene. And he says, right, when his son is born, "Mera beta engineer banega." How many of you have heard something similar said by your parents, by your family members, right? "Mera beta engineer banega. Main IAS officer banunga," right? I will become this, I will become that. We do a lot of this in Indian culture, right? Again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. But there's a lot of this wanting to become someone that happens in our culture. And that's why I want to emphasize this point here. I'll leave that quote up for a few seconds for you to read this. Sometimes it's a hard choice that you have to make between being someone versus doing something. And what choice you make can shape the course of your life. The person who said this was a colonel in the US Air Force, a man by the name John Boyd. He revolutionized the way the US Air Force designed its fighter jets after the Vietnam War. He was responsible in many ways for the pioneering technologies and tactics of the US Air Force since then. And yet he's only a colonel. I mean, I shouldn't say only, it's a high rank, right? But he didn't end up being, Air Chief Marshal. Actually, the US Air Force doesn't have Air Chief Marshals, they'll have generals. But he didn't become a general. He didn't become the leader of the US Air Force. And the reason for that was because throughout his life, he consistently valued doing the right thing versus trying to become a general, becoming a lieutenant general, whatever it is, right? Instead of chasing rank, instead of chasing power, he strove to do the right thing, which was to campaign for for a new way of doing things. Let's give you more concrete examples, right? Being someone, I want to be a doctor. I am a doctor. Right? I want to become a software engineer at OpenAI. Right? How many of you want to be doctors? I have quite a few folks scattered across the audience. How many of you want to be a software engineer for OpenAI or maybe Meta or whatever it is, one of these fancy Gen AI companies? Oh, decent number, right? A lot of aspirations here. Maybe you want to top, the NEET exam or something. Maybe you just want to be rich. Right? All of these things are about being someone, being a doctor, being rich, right? If you take the other side, though, it's no longer I want to be a doctor. It's I want to heal people. It's a very small difference. And yet, it makes all the difference in the world. Because now, suppose something happens in life and you're not able to be a doctor. You can still heal people. You may have failed, quote unquote, at becoming a doctor, but you can still achieve the success of healing people. You might go into mental health. You might go into psychology. You might become a therapist. You might become a school counselor. That heals people's lives. You might become a philanthropist. There are so many ways now to heal people that's not limited to having the words DR before your name. The same thing is true for all of these. And so I think this is one of the most profound mental shifts that you can come up with that'll help you become what's called anti-fragile. It helps you become more resilient if things go wrong. It actually helps you stay on the right path as you move forward. I wanted to bring in a quote in Tamil here, because after all, we are in Tamil Nadu. And this is from the Tirukkural by Thiruvalluvar. And it's a beautiful Tamil quote that reinforces what Shabari said earlier. Pirappokkum ella uyirkum, shirappovva seidoril vetrumaiyan. All beings are equal by birth. Pirappu okkum ella uyirkum. For all life forms. He's not even saying all human beings. All life forms are equal by birth. Any differences in qualities, any differences in where we end up, come from the differences in the nature of the work we do, in the effort that we put in, and in the ethical choices that we make. That's the difference here between being someone and trying to use that as a privilege versus doing something and using your resources to make the world a better place. So with that, I'll give you a second framework. Also from ancient, actually this is more from ancient Tibet, right? This is called the BMP framework. I want to call it, the first word is bhumi, which is literally your ground. Where are you right now? What's your standing? Right? This is the collection of all your actions in your life that have brought you to where you are today. It's not just your physical standing, it's your emotional state, it's the resources you have available to you. All of those things together comprise your bhumi. And following from that bhumi, you have a marga. A marga is a path that you choose to walk. And of course, you have phala. Right? Notice how clever these philosophers were. If I tell you, you have a starting point and you have a path, what's the most obvious third element that you would expect? You have a starting point and you have a path, a destination. But there is no destination here. Because this is not about reaching destinations. This is about walking a path that you choose. And as you walk that path, you will get fruits. Different fruits at different points of time. You might change your path. All that's fine. But there's no end goal, right? If your end goal is to become a doctor, yeah, you graduate, you have that title, you're done. You've achieved, you've become a doctor. But if your end goal is to heal people, that is a path you walk your whole life. There is no end to it. And all your life, you keep acquiring the satisfaction of helping someone's life. You acquire the skills to get better at this, and you become better and better as you walk this path. This gentleman, his name is Jigoro Kano, and he was the founder of the martial art of judo. So of course, there's been martial arts in Japan for a long time. He brought them all together, he integrated them into the system called judo, right? And you imagine that someone who does judo and is a founder of judo is not just a black belt, but he's like a red belt, or like, I don't know, if there's a belt beyond red, he should be a gold belt, right? And yet his instructions are very clear. When he died, he wanted a white belt on his grave. He wanted to be seen as a complete beginner, because he knew that the path that he had walked, he had to keep walking. By the way, this is just a cool fun fact. This is how you write judo in Japanese. But what I find really cool is the second character, the one at the bottom. It's the do in the word judo. And it means path. In fact, it is exactly the same word that they'd use to translate marga from the framework. So it is still all about walking this path your whole life. It's not about, making a brown belt or making a blue belt. It's about learning this all through your life. Okay. I'll make one quick note here, and then we'll move on to the next part of this. And that is, again, like we talked about the resources. You could, from your same point that you're at, choose different paths. Right? Especially at your age, you have the luxury to figure out what this path is that you want to walk. You can choose different paths, and you can walk them, and you'll obviously get different kinds of fruit from all these things. But you could also have very different starting points and end up at the same place. Right? All of us are unique in our life journeys. Oops, my animation was off. There we go. All of us are unique in our life journeys, in what we have available to us, in our learnings, our maturity. It is not that makes us successful. It is the paths that we choose to walk on, and the way we walk on those paths with our friends. We bring them along. That is really what we're talking about here when it comes to success. Okay, I have a third key idea and a third framework, but I'm not going to talk about that now because I'm past the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to pause here. I think we're supposed to do a Q&A with Meghna, so maybe we'll bring that all together. But anyway, I've given you 2 ideas and 2 frameworks, and hopefully that was not too much Japanese and Sanskrit and Tamil and all put together. But you can always ask us more questions, and you can always find me. I'm around, and we can talk more about any of these things over here, okay?
Thank you for that profound keynote, sir. You have reminded us that success isn't just about milestones. It's about meaning, impact, and the legacy that we leave behind.
From rethinking personal definitions of achievement to finding purpose beyond titles and accolades, this keynote has set the perfect tone for the conversations we'll have throughout the summit.